1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 Schlemiel. Schlemazel. Hasen Pfeffer Incorporated. Hi. What's up? Hello. Hey, what's up? Hello. It's late. I am tired, but I'm not putting this off anymore. If you know me at all, you know that I have a passing interest in politics. And the news, especially in the last, couple months, has been batshit, straight up guano. At least by the time this video comes out, you've probably heard about the 48 migrants that were unknowingly transported to Martha's Vineyard. You may or may not have also heard about the couple hundred migrants that Greg Abbott had bused to, what did he call her? Supposed border czar Kamala Harris's house. But before I get into all of that, I just want to do a quick history lesson. Reverse freedom rides. In 1962, some segregationist groups in the South ran an ad campaign targeted at black people. They were basically like, hey, these cities in the North have high-paying jobs and free housing, and here's a free one-way bus ticket to the North. Go there, they're going to give you all this stuff. And in reality, none of that was there. The idea was simple. When large numbers of African Americans showed up on Northern doorsteps, Northerners would not be able to accommodate them. They would not want them, and their hypocrisy would be exposed. They focused on recruiting men with criminal records and single mothers with a lot of children, cynically presuming white liberals would welcome them the least. The largest of these transports was about 100 people from Arkansas to, get ready, Cape Cod. President Kennedy's brother assures you a grand reception, good jobs, housing, etc. are promised. So basically, this was an effort to humiliate black people and overwhelm the northern states and prove that they were disingenuous. Dolores DeLuce, a member of the NAACP, called this a dirty trick, a play on human beings, and Margaret Moseley said it was one of the most inhuman things she's ever seen. But that was in 1962. Lucky for us, in 1964, President Lyndon B. Johnson outlawed racism, so now we're all chillin'. Anyway, what was I here to talk about again? Oh yeah! I'm not just here to do theatrics about how appalled I am and how evil this was, although it was. I try really hard not to hyperbolize or use loaded language when I'm talking about politics, but this was a deliberate, effortful attempt to maximize human suffering. But we'll get to that. I want to sort of talk about this from a political standpoint first, politics. First of all, the reverse freedom rides in the South were funded by these small segregationist organizations. This little stunt from Ron DeSantis was funded by the government. In fact, they were funded by COVID relief. Ron DeSantis, governor of Florida, used over $500,000 of the Florida state budget to transport 48 migrants out of Texas. As Rachel Martin said on NPR, we should note that the number of immigrants in Florida was the same as before. The legislature gave me $12 million. We're going to spend every penny of that to make sure we're protecting the people of the state of Florida. So in terms of the idea of protecting the people of Florida, let's just put a pin in that. For all the screaming and crying these governors do about our tax dollars paying for undocumented immigrants, they sure are going out of their way to use their state's tax dollars to pay for undocumented immigrants.
In the past, before April, before Governor Abbott started offering these free buses to migrants, these migrants would pay for the bus tickets themselves. So it was coming from the pockets of the migrants or from their family members. What's different now is that the taxpayer is now paying for it.
So then Ron DeSantis puts out this passive-aggressive ass press statement. States like Massachusetts, New York, and California will better facilitate the care of these individuals who they have invited into our country by incentivizing illegal immigration. First of all, seeking asylum isn't illegal, but in terms of incentivizing people coming over the southern border,
the word is spreading about this in Mexico. The cartels are using this as a way to encourage migrants to cross the border. Migrants are arriving to the U.S. asking about Abbott's buses.
So, to impugn blue states for incentivizing illegal immigration while using your state's tax dollars in a new way that has people clamoring to get over the border because they're going to get a government-funded bus ride to a state that's actually going to take care of them? I don't know, man. Now, let me be clear. An influx of migrants is, not a bad thing, definitely not inherently. Immigrants, legal or otherwise, have a net benefit on the economy. They boost our labor markets, they boost our GDP, they commit less crime. Undocumented immigrants specifically pay literally hundreds of billions of dollars into our tax system and don't get any benefits because they don't have a social security number. But also, just like, I don't know, they're people. Tired, poor, huddled masses yearning to breathe free, if you will. And if any state would know that, it's fucking Florida. Following the Cuban Revolution, the United States took in over 1 million Cuban refugees. They were granted special legal status that lasted into the 2010s, and they were given an unprecedented amount of economic support. The vast majority of those refugees went to Florida, and there are over 900,000 Cuban immigrants living in Florida today. For their governor to say that they are not a sanctuary state for migrants escaping a corrupt government and poverty, they should be furious. I guess hopefully it's not like the I Beat Cancer comic. But this whole stunt was not just inhumane and evil and not a good look sweaty. It's elected government officials using tax dollars to subvert the federal procedure for processing immigrants. And like, I'll get into this more thoroughly in another video, but let's not look past this. The GOP is actively trying to destabilize the country to own the libs. Let's get back to that protecting the people of Florida thing. It's kind of begging the question, right? Saying that you're protecting people by not letting migrants in relies on the idea that just the presence of migrants poses a threat, which it doesn't, and most people know that. Not everyone is as ghoulish as the people who organized this stunt, and they are ghoulish, by the way.
The vineyard is going to need to construct shanty towns for all these new people, but we can't call them shanty towns. Obviously, that's demeaning. So we're going to call them townships, after Obama's favorite country. And then we're going to give them dignified names that suggest some kind of victory over adversity. Mandela, Cesar Chavezville, Kamala Apopolis. None of these new arrivals will be bound by local laws. Why would they be? They ignored federal law to get here. There's no reason that they should have to observe the vineyard's ordinances against, say, drunk driving or defecating in public.
That's Tucker Carlson, host of the most popular cable news show in the history of television, saying for literally no reason that Venezuelan migrants would shit in the streets? Ghoulish. But the fact that they all thought the presence of 50 brown people was gonna spiral Martha's Vineyard into disarray says more about them than anything. Both in the 60s and now, these people were met with an outpouring of support. And this is a point I want to make more often. Humans are not naturally evil. We would not have made this much progress as a civilization if we were all naturally malicious. I used to be all over that pessimistic nihilism. Humans are naturally evil, and also, love isn't even real. It's just synapses firing in your brain and you tell yourself it means something.
Would you say that it's when you meet the right person, your heart beats faster, and you lose your breath and you can't concentrate on anything? Because those are symptoms of heart failure.
But it's actually really easy to take that haughty perspective and be like, fuck people, everyone's naturally evil, I'm the only one that sees that, I'm very smart. It's a great cop-out for your misanthropy and selfish actions, and anytime you hurt anyone else, oh, humans are naturally evil. I'd argue that what actually demonstrates strength of mind and heart is to look at a world that is often horribly mean, and continue every day to try and be a good person and make other people's lives happier. And like, I'm not trying to virtue signal or be corny, I've been on both sides of this. You know, life sucks, so screw everything, and life sucks, so maybe I'll try to make some people's lives suck a little less. The reverse freedom rides ended up creating great PR for integrationists because the majority of people, this is in the early 1960s, were horrified by this. Was horrified by this? I think it was, but I don't like that. This is the opposite of governance. This is an open attempt to sow chaos and disarray in the country.
Tomorrow, Martha's Vineyard needs 100. The next day, they need 200. The next day, they need 1,000. D.C. says it's a crisis to get 6,000. They need 10,000. They need 100,000.
Remember how I said they were going Joker mode?
Full Joker mode.
They're going Joker mode. Look at this guy.
Shut up! Shut up! Stop! Stop him! Stop him! What evidence do you have? What? Gun crime, climate change, geopolitical influence. Oh, I'm horrified about gun violence.
Why is the ice cream stand near your house closed in July? SSRIs in the water supply, brunch on the weekends, and Netflix and white wine at night. Forever. Until you die alone with no descendants to remember you.
In theory, Both political parties should be working toward the same goal, which is figuring out the best way to run the country. And maybe they disagree on methods, but ultimately our objective is the same, and that is the success of the country. But they're going Joker mode. There's so much that I want to say about this. It would literally constitute a whole other video. It will, because I'm gonna make that. There are also things regarding immigration that I feel like we just don't say enough, like that a lot of these immigrants are applying for asylum, which you have to be physically in the country at a port of entry to do. Anyone who says that asylum seekers should wait in their own countries is either lying or doesn't know what they're talking about. It is actually completely in line with federal laws to enter the country without documentation when you are seeking asylum. That is the lawful way to do it. But also, the majority of undocumented immigrants in the US are people who came here legally and then overstayed their visas. So increased protection at the southern border is like kind of f***ing childish. The whole idea of building a wall is really childish. My point is, this is really bad behavior. It's becoming increasingly common for Republican officials to make really meaningful decisions based not in policy, but in spite. So much of this is demonstrated in how we run the border, but again, that could be a whole other video. I guess I'm just saying, this is not who we want running our government. Do I need to say that? Midterms are happening. Please vote while your vote still means something. You know, that whole subverting democracy thing we were talking about, you never know. That sounds very fear-mongery, but like, they're really trying. Obviously, voting on its own is not enough. Direct action is cool if that's something you're interested in. I worked with Activate America in the past. Progressive Victory Now also seems pretty cool. But you do need to vote too, because like, we're neck and neck with a party that plays fast and loose with human rights and also is just increasingly anti-empiricist. So that's bad. I do need to make a video about like actual fascism, because that word gets thrown around a lot, but we're seeing some real fash tendencies, and I think it's important to be able to recognize those. But what I'll say right now is that a crucial component of laying the groundwork for fascism is sowing fear. Stay tuned for a video about how the GOP maintains a massive voting bloc just by sowing fear. Fear is a path to the dark side. Fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, and hate leads to suffering. They are pushing the envelope. They're seeing how much they can get away with, and we can't just rely on our institutions to sort it out, because institutions are only as powerful as the people who protect them. So, do what you can to protect them. Anyway, I'm so tired. It's late o'clock. I'm gonna go to bed. I'm just gonna leave the camera on. Go to bed. Good night. Wait, I literally forgot. I like actually should turn off the camera.